Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk. Art and Talk is an online interviewing platform for artists to share their art and their creativity and their passion. We embrace all the arts, the traditional arts, and the spiritual arts to bring you diverse and quality interviews to watch and to be inspired by. On Art and Talk, we're all about meeting artists and being inspired. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk. And today we have a guest visual artist who primarily works in portraits. And we're going to be taking a look at some of his portraits and finding out all about his art and his artistic journey. So thanks again for being with us. I'd like to welcome our guest artist for today, Pankaj Kumar. Pankaj, welcome.
It's my pleasure. Good
Oh,
to be here.
wow. Yeah, well, we're so happy to have you here and find out all about your portrait art and the medium that you enjoy working with. How would you like to open up the show? What would you like to share with us about you and your art and your artistic journey?
Okay, so I'm from a city called Bareilly in India, and I'm pursuing my master's in marketing. So it's I've almost finished with it. So it's going to finish off in September this year. So I've got plans of integrating my marketing and fine arts together after my course finishes. So how it all started, well, I got interested in fine arts when I was around 6 or 7 years old. And I still remember that the first portrait I ever did was of Aladdin. So yeah, so I used to do basic animal portraits as well, like lion, mountains, trees. But just like every other parent reacts when they come to find out that their child might be artistically inclined, my parents just hammered my enthusiasm to continue my hobby any further. I mean, they didn't have any bad intentions behind it, but because perhaps they might be thinking, okay, what is he going to get out of if he continues to pursue this hobby? He might be left behind in his studies or something. And besides that, my father wanted to me to like focus. He wanted me to focus solely on studies, and he wanted me to go into administrative jobs. So just giving him a hint that I could be going into art related stuff. So it just angered him a little bit. I think he just didn't like it. He still doesn't like it, but he's getting used to it. So I just got rid of it, and then just did I just solely focused on my studies after that. And I think it was in 2011 I did do 2 or 3 portraits. I think it was some Indian actors, but that was just out of curiosity and boredom, and that's about it. So yeah, back then, so in 2011 I was pursuing my bachelor's actually. Yeah. So then comes 2013, and I don't know if I should. So I had a breakup with someone, and I was just sitting at home going through my DVD collection just to distract myself. And I bump into this movie called 300. It came out in I think 2005 or 6. It had Gerard Butler in it, and I decided to do a portrait of him. He was holding that sword in the cover picture, and I just thought, okay, let's just do a sketch of this guy, Gerard Butler. And although it did not turn out to be like decent looking, but I actually ended up liking the process and how it turned out, because I was surprised because uh, yeah. So actually, yeah, and so began my journey. I mean, I did some another portrait. I think it was of some animated character, and then some other Hollywood and Indian actors as well. And that's it. I mean, I haven't stopped since then, and every day and night I have been doing it. And today I'm just sitting in front of you talking to you about my art stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. So, wow, what an interesting way to kind of begin your artistic journey. So at 6 and 7, you kind of naturally had this ability to kind of draw and had a really strong visual sense and technical skill. And then your parents didn't really, they didn't encourage that. They kind of wanted you to move in another direction. So then you started pursuing a lot of things, and then just time marches on, and you're just experiencing life, and then you had the breakup, and then all of a sudden you see this movie, and then all of a sudden you get inspired to do a portrait, and then that just kind of is like building and building and building, and that's just,
Yeah.
here we are now.
I think I got it from my mother, these artistic inclinations, because she used to do all those oil paintings as well. So yeah, I think that's how I got it.
Right, yeah. Now tell us about portraits. Why is it the portrait that attracts you so much?
Um, I I I I could never answer it, but I think for me, art is all about expressing emotions actually. So I like doing abstract art,
Mhm.
like but I think the portrait, like a human face, actually, especially be it of a man or a woman, they always have, especially the eyes, they've got lots of emotions going in them. So that's why we say eyes are the windows to the soul. So I'm like, all I have, I don't know what, I cannot put a finger on it. I mean, what attracts me to doing these portraits, but yeah, I just want to convey. I just like a face, and I just decide to do it. Decide to do it. Yeah.
Mhm. And what about charcoal? That's your favorite medium to work up your portraits. And what is it about charcoal that you just seem to identify with, and how it feels in your hand? What's that whole experience like for you?
Okay. So I I started when I first started. I started with doing the using the graphite pencils. Actually, I didn't even know what charcoal pencils are, and but somehow as time progressed, I started doing more research about it, like what I wanted to explore. And then I came across this charcoal medium, and I just bought some of them. And initially I didn't like these pencils at all, because mastering these pencils is an art in itself. They are like really hard to master, but once you get the hold of it, I mean, I just fell in love with this medium, because it gives you great contrast between black and white. And if you add in the graphite pencils as well, it gives you like really like gorgeous looking portraits. So yeah, there's nothing specific about it. Why I like these pencils is just that, it's just my personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, is it safe to say that you haven't really had any formal training?
No, never had one.
So you're a self-taught artist.
Yeah, never had any online course, never watched any YouTube videos, just kept on going. I mean, yeah. I mean, when I first started, it was just, I don't know, it was when I first started doing it, it was like a hobby, but then it turned into more like a passion to me. So, and also I didn't have to force myself to do it. Didn't have to force myself to, okay, I'm going to do it today. I didn't, there were no distractions actually. So whenever I was like doing some portrait, or whenever I decided to do it, I was like laser focused. So I didn't have to force myself in this field. It just came naturally. Yeah.
Right. You're just in that natural space. It feels right to you to create.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. All right. Well, would you like to take a look at some of your images that we have?
Yeah, go
And
ahead. Yeah.
all right, very good. Let's go ahead and take a look at some. Give me just a second. Okay.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
What's going on here? And yeah, share.
this one is about hope versus fear. So the right hand, the hand that's like standing up upright, that's the hand that represents hope. Um, and the dark hand that's like trying to bring it down, that's the fear. So it's about if you are just dedicated and no matter what you encounter in life, if you remain hopeful, eventually you are going to get through all the adversaries and something beautiful is going to blossom. So that's why I use those leaves at the top of it. So it's like kind of a hope, like a morning sun blossoming after encountering all the bad luck, you can say, or challenges the life throws at you. Yeah.
Right. That's such a beautiful message. So it's hope triumphing over fear,
Yeah.
and then so we have the hand representing fear, as you said,
Yeah.
Pankaj, kind of almost like grasping on
Trying
hope.
to bring it down.
Right, right. And then hope triumphing, and then here we have the new growth, as you said, like in the morning light.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why this fear is kind of dark. That's why I made it more like yeah. So and the hand that represents hope here is kind of more clear. It doesn't have those dark, dark, dark shades to it.
Mhm. Right. What a beautiful representation. I'm just wondering, when you sat in front of your, with your easel or however you work with, with your charcoal and your paper, did you have this idea of hope versus fear, kind of light and dark kind of thing already in your mind, and that you wanted to represent it visually, or did it just organically happen as you started to create this piece?
So so this piece, I mean, I had to look at the hands actually. So how I did this one is I went through the pictures online and I saw some portraits of people and I liked the hand of someone. Okay, so this hand looks good. So it might look good as a hand that represents hope. And I had a look at some other hands and okay, and came across this hand that represent a hand of a person that more suited with the hand of fear. So I kind of edited them and joined them together, and that's how it turned out. But I had that thought in mind. I mean, what I was going to create actually.
Mhm. I see. And also, I'm wondering the hand of fear with these fingers that
Yeah.
aren't actually touching the hand representing hope. Does that have a symbol, or was that just more for compositional considerations?
I think it's like more like a composition thing. Yeah.
Mhm. It's beautiful. All right. Anything else you'd like to share about this before we move to the next one?
I think that's about it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. All right. So what's going on with this one?
Oh, okay. So this is one of my boot actually. This thing you see here. So it's about tough times and facing. It's almost similar to the first one actually. So it's about facing the tough times and challenges the life throws at you, which is represented by this boot, which is like harsh and kind of rough around the edges. But if you face it, how it can lead to some positive outcome, like that flower you see that's coming out of it. So it's like yeah, kind of like a phoenix thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Right, like the phoenix rising from the ashes.
Yeah.
Mhm. And tell us a little bit if you would please, about the control that you have with the charcoal, with the light and the dark. Tell us about, because you haven't had any formal training, so you're able to represent the dimensional quality on the 2D paper. Share with us a little bit how that has developed, and a little bit about your creative process.
Can you just repeat it again? I mean, what do you want me to talk about?
Sure. Well, being that you basically trained yourself, to see as an artist, and to be able to represent realistically, and you also mentioned that you like to work abstractly. Tell us a little bit about that process for you, with the charcoal and the lights and the darks and the contrast.
So I mean, I don't know. It just I just had a look at I just took a picture of my boards, and I just turned it into a black and white picture, and I just did it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're looking at your picture, and you're just in that creative zone, and you're just representing it through the
Yeah,
charcoal.
this flower you see. So this one is more like an abstract flower. It wasn't taken from any reference picture. I just did it just like that. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm. And then that's beautiful. And you were saying that this is actually your boot.
Yeah.
Mhm. So is it kind of a similar theme, would you say, with the first one that we looked at?
Yeah.
Mhm. And I noticed both of these were in 2020. Did the pandemic play an influence in that, in representing this as well?
I think a little bit, but not much, because I've always been attracted to these kind of ideas, where a person just fights through everything and just comes out as a winner.
Mm-hmm. And you
So
said it, mhm. And you said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was asking, what were you saying?
Well, you had said in the beginning that this was about like confronting, being able to confront things,
Yeah,
and through confronting it, something beautiful
yeah,
comes from it, and visually represented with the flower coming through the boot.
yeah,
Mm. Again, what a beautiful message.
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Okay. All right, talk to us. What's going on with this?
I can't see it on my screen actually.
Oh, you can't see it from your screen? Okay, this is the one, it's a little bit more than a portrait. It's the one of the man, kind of almost like in a scream,
Okay,
and
okay.
pointing up, and I go from
Is
a,
it that is it of the man that's being torn apart in two pieces?
you're right, the man being torn apart in two pieces, yes.
Okay, so it's like the torn apart man. So it's also going to be similar. It's going to have a similar theme to it. So it shows why it is like good to have desires no matter what the outcome is. Because so in Hinduism and Buddhist cultures, it's been said that the only way to happiness is to get rid of all the desires. But I don't agree with that, because if there's no desire, then there's nothing to aspire for. And if there's nothing to aspire for, then there is no life left. I mean, you are still literally living, but there's nothing liveliness in you. So this picture is about a man who once had a desire to achieve something, but this desire and so this desire was so strong that he developed a lot of false hopes about it, because he was also naive and didn't have any life experiences. So he started to idealize his desire, but then life happens to him and he comes across some bitter and harsh truths about it. And because of this, his idealized desire gave him disappointment, and this disappointment led him to self annihilation. But that annihilation turned him into a phoenix actually. So this portrait depicts the second last stage before he turns into a phoenix.
Mm. Well, that's a powerful story, Pankaj.
Yeah.
And it's a very striking and powerful image as well.
Yeah, I regret doing it in charcoal actually, but because I didn't know how it was going to turn out. But after I was finished with it, I thought, oh, I mean, I should have rather done it with like black acrylic paints on like a canvas. So that would have been more striking because I think, I mean, it's like a personal opinion. So it looks like kind of dull to me. It doesn't have that light and vibrance to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Now, with this whole idea, this whole kind of story, sort of concept that you had, was that something that what I'm trying to get at is when these ideas come to you, because you're very thoughtful in the way that you create and the messages that you want to convey visually. So was this that idea that you described of this whole journey that he's going through? Was that there first, and then you wanted to see, okay, how could I represent this visually? Did it all come up together? Did you just start sketching it and then the ideas kind of developed? I'm just trying to get a little handle on the way that you think and approach your artwork.
So I already have. So when I start doing like a portrait, until and unless it's like a realistic portrait. So for that, I need to have some reference pictures like the dog portraits I've done.
Mhm.
But for these ones, I already have ideas and thoughts. Okay, this is what I'm going to be doing this time. So I go through some pictures on like or scroll through some pictures on the internet, and I get like a idea and general theme about it. Okay, that's how I'm going to represent my portrait. So and when you scroll through a lot, I don't know if how it works with other people, but when I scroll through a lot, my creative juices get exalted. I mean, I think even more. I mean, how I think about how can I make it even more meaningful actually. So this was like a complete portrait, but in order to depict the destruction and the chaos part, I just divided that into two parts. So yeah, because yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the Phoenix Rising is playing a role in this artwork as well as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you complete a piece like this,
Yeah.
Pankaj, that really has a lot of deep significance and a lot of deep meaning, that I think so many people, can relate to things they've experienced in their life, may be going through. When you complete this, is do you feel a sense of like release, or kind of coming to terms with all of the aspects that are portrayed, within this art piece that you beautifully elaborated on?
I think I can relate to these kind of portraits. I think I can relate to some of them because my name itself, because I in India we have got all these religious and spiritual beliefs, and my mother is like a hardcore religious. So I was born in the month of November actually, and my my mother thought, okay, he's born in the month of November, so he's like I don't believe in it, but she said, oh, okay, he's got this astrological zodiac called. Scorpio. So let's give him some name that kind of represent his birth month. So my this name was given to me by my paternal uncle, but the idea behind it was my mother. So Pankaj actually means phoenix. So yeah, so I myself have been through situations in life where I metaphorically died. And I don't know, I mean, if it's all psychological and or if it was meant to be. And so I just really believe in this concept of dying, like getting rid of yourself and then reborn again. So I just, most of my portraits have that common theme in them.
Right. All right. Yeah. So it's kind of like that whole death and rebirth and then rising above the ashes as a phoenix, and that you were named after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's such a compelling and beautiful, beautiful drawing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. Whoops. Oh, didn't know that one was on there. Well, do you want to speak about this one?
Which one is that? Is it like of like the man with, which one is it?
No, we haven't gotten to that one yet. Actually, this one is a beautiful portrait, realistic of a woman. Um, you did a series of works with her.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean anything. I mean, it just, I mean, sometimes, I mean, I just love anything that's like, so this one doesn't have any like meaning behind it, but I just love doing portraits of people, be it of a man or a woman, but especially women,
Mhm.
because so I just come across it and I just do it. So yeah, I don't know how to explain this one.
Mhm. Well, it's beautiful, and your skill and technical ability, to represent, the human face, the human form is really just beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it just all comes naturally to you, getting the proportions, the light, the shading, the shapes, the lines, the composition. It just kind of flows out of you.
Yeah, I mean, I have been suggested by people in these Facebook art groups to just, I used to get suggested, but now I don't get any suggestions. So when I was starting out, people used to tell me, oh, you need to do those grids first to, you need to have like a scale and a ruler to measure everything. But I just couldn't do it, because if I'm measuring everything, it feels more like mathematics to me, and I'd want to keep them separate. But yeah, so I think it's just about practice. It's just about not giving up. You just tend to grow.
Hmm. And so it sounds, Pankaj, like you just really trust your eye.
Well, what can I say?
Yeah, well, because I know that you had mentioned that, your undergrad was in science, and so kind of approaching the face and that grid and really getting that type of approach is, a little bit more kind of in this scientific, very precise way. But yet I find that interesting that that's not something that you really resonated with, and so you tried it, it didn't, it didn't really feel right, and so you kind of let yourself, develop your art and create your art really just through your eye, your hand, that whole coordination, your soul.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. We have one more. Okay.
Oh, this one has been my ever favorite. So should I talk about it?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so the idea behind this one came from one of like Jordan Peterson's speeches. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
Okay, so where he talks about the dark world and the underworld. So it's about a man whose soul has become very dark. So I mean, this guy doesn't believe in karma, he just wants to go out into the world and create as much havoc and destruction, like as much havoc as possible, so as to balance out the feelings of resentment and atrocities that were done to him in the past. So this guy, he is in the favor of seeking revenge because he thinks seeking revenge isn't a bad thing. Seeking revenge is just an extension of seeking justice. So that's why I just, and this one is like totally abstract. I don't know. I just started doing some eyes and everything, and it just turned out like this. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why, in order to make it more dark, I just didn't just removed his eyes altogether.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he doesn't have that what's that word? Um that compassion left in him. He just wants to he just wants to destroy everything.
mhm. It really draws you in, and now you explaining, what the intention, was behind it and whatnot. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can really, really feel that.
Yeah.
Also noticed you have a really interesting way of signing your artwork. It almost looks almost like kind of like a hieroglyph in a way. The way you kind of like underline your name and the whole positioning and then the date. Did that just kind of just come about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't want to make it look like more. I mean, I wanted to make it look like very simple, and that's it. Like that's, I mean, I don't. The idea behind writing the date is just for me to remember that that's the date I this did this portrait on, and that's it.
Mhm.
And obviously, this signing part is about, okay, so this portrait belongs to me actually. So that, yeah,
Right, right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share.
yeah,
Wow, well, we've really gotten a good feel for, just almost like the way like the deep intensity of your beautiful mind and the different areas that you kind of think about and like to represent in your artwork. And it seems like, and tell me if this is correct. Then we also looked at the image of the woman, and I know you do pets as well. So you
yeah.
also kind of work in these other areas in terms of portraits. Do you think that kind of helps balance these other kind of like deep, heavy, kind of like intellectual yet very feeling side type of art, that it kind of gives it that little bit of balance, or how do you view it?
Oh, it definitely does. Sometimes when I'm like very much depressed and just looking for an outlet, so yeah, I mean, sometimes I just go out for running, or if I cannot, I just start doing these portraits. But when I'm like, when if it's like a sunny day outside and everything is like all good and fine, I just look it up online and I just come across a an attractive face, and I just let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you finish a piece,
Yeah.
how do you know that it's finished? Is it just a feeling you get like this is now complete? You just see it and feel it, or how does that play out for you?
Um, I I think I just know it. I mean, I've left some of the. I think I've got some portraits on my Facebook page that I just left them in between. So they weren't supposed to be left like that, but I left them
Mhm.
because I thought, okay, I don't want to overdo it, because because that leaving them halfway has given them a different meaning. So if I had completed them like all completely, it could have changed the whole meaning of it altogether.
Yes, I see. Yeah. Now, you like to work realistically, as you mentioned, you also like to work abstractly. What is a different like headspace when you're working as an artist realistically, as opposed to kind of shifting in a completely whole different orientation of abstract?
So realistic portraits I do when I'm just doing some faces or like pet portraits. And but when I want to, when it's like more about feelings and emotions, I tend to shift towards the abstract side of art.
Hmm.
Because realistic portraits, I don't think they have the capacity to portray that much meaning,
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful insight. I thank you for sharing that. I'm also wondering a couple other things that when because you also do paint, and you said you work in acrylic. What is your relationship to color?
Relationship to color.
Mhm.
How do you mean?
Well, like for example, I saw one of your beautiful portraits that was of I believe it was of Edgar Allan Poe, and it was
Yeah,
very expressive, and it was the way the colors were used, and it was very bold, and it was very striking. So I'm
yeah.
just wondering, is that typical of when you are actually painting, and your relationship, the way that you use color? Can you just tap into that for a little bit?
I think I used colors that resemble the personality of a portrait.
Mhm.
So Edgar Allan Poe, as you already know, he has had this devastating life. So I wanted, it's like still here, right there. So I wanted to use the red color and the blue and the brown actually. So in order to give him more what do you call, the dark, um, like darker side of art. But when it comes to like an abstract portrait of this thing, I don't know if it's like a woman or a man. I just couldn't figure out. I just did it.
Mhm.
So I use the warm colors and the light colors like yellow or orange
Mhm.
that give it more like a vibrant personality.
Mhm.
So it's about the portrait as well. I could have never used white or orange to Edgar Allan Poe because it would have ruined the whole,
Mm.
yeah, whole mm, whole thing, whole personality of his.
Right, right. So
Yeah,
it's that whole emotional connection
yeah,
to color, and certain ones that feel right, as you said, that you want to express their personality.
yeah. I'm still learning it, the color combinations. So I haven't been able to perfect it yet. So that's why I tend to stay away from experimenting a lot when it comes to acrylics. But yeah, once in a month or twice in a month, I do use these paints. But most of the time, I'm like all about charcoal pencils.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pankaj, tell us when you're actually creating your art, is there a certain environment that you like? Like, do you like it quiet? Do you like music on? Do you have like your phone or mobile devices near you so that, if you're contacted, you want to be in touch? Do you put that, out of the space? How do you like to create your work?
Or it has to be like, it has to make me feel like I'm in a paradise, first of all, no matter what my mood is. So I have to have the music on. I have to have my cup of tea beside me. And I have to have some good looking, what do you call, the dessert. Because yeah, I'm like, yeah, I just like to, I just love to eat. I just live to eat actually. So it just yeah, I just go into oblivion when I mean, yeah, that's how I do it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's beautiful. So you kind of create this like paradise, this whole like paradisial feel, and that puts you in the zone, and you're like, yeah, now I can create.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, some of the portraits that we looked at and that you work in, can you just give us a rough feel for how long they take?
Okay, so when I first started out, when I think back in 2011, so my portraits were not good enough because those were like when I was just literally starting out. I didn't know, I didn't have the skills actually. So those portraits used to take me 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. It depended on the portrait. But now I could do the same portrait, but it's going to take me like 1 day or 2 days actually. But it's going to be more realistic. So my skills have developed, but I do take comparatively more time to finish them off now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question. We still have a few more minutes left.
Yeah.
And I've asked a few other guest artists that we've had on our show. Do you think that anybody can learn to draw?
Uh, that's a tough one. Anybody can I don't know how to answer that one. I think anybody can do it. But it was easier for me, not because I was talented, because I don't think there's anything called talent. Talent is nothing but just like it is nothing but like a natural inclination towards doing something. So even though I did have that an inclination towards it, but I still had to work. I have been working on it for 10 years. So anybody can do it, but if they are genuinely not interested in it, if they don't derive any meaning in it, it might take them longer. Yeah. Or I mean, it varies from person to person. Someone who is like, it could be that someone who is more passionate about art than me, so he could just do it in a comparatively shorter time, like 5 or 6 years. But yeah, I mean, art is like not a destination, it's more like a journey. You can never perfect it. You're always trying to become better at it.
Mhm.
I still consider myself a beginner.
Mhm. Tell us something that you haven't told us about your art before we wrap up the show.
About my art,
Mhm.
I don't. I think I've done with almost everything.
You really connect deeply with your art. I think many artists do, but you really connect with your soul. I think that's become very evident and very very beautiful, very inspiring that you've shared with us. Take us up to speed because I know that you're, as you mentioned, you're almost finished with your marketing degree, and you
Yeah,
want to use your marketing to help you with your artwork. So you'll have the skill set as marketing and business, and then
yeah,
kind of bring that up to a whole new level with your art.
yeah. So I'm also doing my dissertation on the analyzing and coming up with new marketing and branding strategies for the fine artists. So that could help me a lot because I myself might come across some of the strategies I might not be aware of. So, and yeah, I mean, after finishing it, I'm going to go in this career.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah,
Mhm. Pankaj, we need to wrap the show up. We'd like to offer you closing comments, however you'd like to close out the show, and let us know how we can stay connected with you, please.
yeah. I mean, it's been a pleasure to be on this show, and uh, I mean, I've got a Facebook page, and if you want, you can just send me a message over there, or I've got a personal profile as well. So if you want to connect with me over there, just send me a request and that's it. And I've got like an Instagram account as well, but I don't use it much. I just tend to stay away from social media as much as possible, but I use it because I have to use it for my artwork and that's it.
Right, right. And you said that you pretty much almost every day, you're right there drawing or
Not every day, not every day, but like almost every other day. Sometimes it has happened to me before. Sometimes I haven't done an artwork for like a month, and sometimes I have done like two portraits, one in the morning and one in the evening. So, but that was more like an amateur feeling. but I think I've become more disciplined. So yeah,
Mhm.
I've never done it like, so when I used to take a month long break, that used to happen back in 2016 or 17. But after I think 2019, it has just never happened. I just do it like all like at least 4 times a week, 4 days a week. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. That's still a considerable amount.
Yeah.
Amount per week. Yeah. Love your devotion and sharing all the beautiful messages that you share with us that you convey through your visual art. And it's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing your deep connection with yourself and art and helping us to kind of tap into that world. Thank you so much, Pankaj.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And much success to you. You're wrapping up your degree as we mentioned. And so yeah, so that'll be like a whole new beginning. So much success with that and bringing your art to the next level to share out to everyone. So much success for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching Art and Talk. We appreciate the time you take to watch our art videos. And you can always stay connected with us with our Art and Talk YouTube channel and also on Facebook and on Twitter. All right, so thanks again, and we'll talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed.